Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. First, CNN's Van Jones weighed in on the brutal Charlotte stabbing, saying that the killer was just hurting. He said, "We don't know how to deal with hurting people." Yes we do. It's called prison. Then it turns out the magistrate judge who released that same killer isn't even a lawyer. Imagine telling the victim's family, "Don't worry, the person who let him out, she took a civics class in high school." Next, Whoopi Goldberg shocked everyone by asking Justice Sotomayor where regular folks can find Supreme Court opinions. Now, it's not that Whoopi doesn't know where to find the court opinions, it's just that she forgot how to read 12 years ago. And finally, Kamala Harris is blasting Biden in her new book. A few tidbits have been released, and we've got them for you. Her book is called 107 Days, which is exactly how long it took her to go from Joe Biden is sharp as a tack to actually he's completely senile and it's all his fault. And then we go to the comment section. The first comment is on Kamala Harris. We were talking about if she can afford security herself and how much money she's going to make on her book. Somebody had asked, isn't she still $20 million in debt? And then on the segment that we did about Brian Stelter being concerned about the racist comments online rather than the crime that was committed in Charlotte. So talking about Brian Stelter, somebody said, didn't CNN already fire Stelter? So we'll look at that. Okay, let's dive in. On CNN, Van Jones helped explain what happened to the Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska in Charlotte. He said that the suspect was hurting with mental issues.
It's not about cashless bail or no cashless bail. It's about the fact that we don't know how to deal with people who are hurting in the way this man was hurting. Hurt people hurt people. What happened was horrible, but it becomes an opportunity.
What happened was horrible, but look, there's no but after that brutal stabbing. Unless you're saying, but we did just upgrade our electric chair. The magistrate judge in Charlotte that released DeCarlos Brown Jr. isn't even a lawyer.
The White House says this is Teresa Stokes, a Harris donor who doesn't even have a law degree, but just made a career criminal and a schizophrenic who beat his own sister when he was out on parole. Pinky promised that he'd behave.
So, the killer got released by someone with less legal training than a barista at Starbucks. Somehow, Whoopi Goldberg forgot about the internet. When Justice Sotomayor was on The View, Whoopi Goldberg asked her where regular folks can find Supreme Court opinions. Because why would a talk show host who regularly discusses court cases know anything about that?
Where can people find these dissents? Because I think people always think they're not available to regular folks. Is there a place to help?
Online. And you search online the way you search anything. Search bar, it'll pop right up. The Supreme Court website, supremecourt.gov.
Yeah.
Whoopi hosts a political talk show but didn't know that Supreme Court opinions are public? That's like a weatherman asking, so clouds, what are those? Sotomayor is used to arguing constitutional law. Now she's explaining to Whoopi how Google works. Finally, a fight she can win. Kamala Harris is going scorched earth in her new book, 107 Days, calling out former President Biden for recklessness over his decision to run for a second term. She wrote this: "Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego and individual's ambition." Yet, in contrast, Kamala also defended her decision not to voice her opinion about Biden's cognitive decline because of her loyalty. In other words, it's fine to watch the ship sink as long as you're sitting in first class. Kamala also wrote about how she was attacked on her laugh, tone of voice, her dating history, and being written off as a DEI hire. The White House rarely pushed back with her actual resume. I didn't even know she had a resume. She's even claiming that White House staff added fuel to those negative narratives because she was getting too popular. Kamala, the only place you were popular was in Trump's campaign headquarters. She also wrote that Biden's inner circle let her take the blame for the border crisis. According to Kamala, the White House feared her momentum. That's like fearing a tricycle will overtake a parked car. And now on to the comment section. First, I wanted to thank everyone for all of your comments. I really enjoy reading through all of those, so thank you for everybody engaging like that. Okay, the first comment is on the segment that we did about Kamala Harris and having to pay for her own security with the LAPD security being dropped. We'd been talking about her book and how much money she's going to make on her book or not make. And we actually had this comment from Diane Lips 2685. Okay, I imagine the Kamala Harris book as one long run-on sentence. When I read that, I was hoping that maybe they'll have an audio book and they'll have Kamala read it. Wouldn't that just be the best? I mean, the worst. They could probably use that in, at Guantanamo Bay to torture people to get information from them. Like, we're going to turn on the Kamala book if you don't tell us where he is. So anyway, okay, and then this is also on that same segment about Kamala Harris. This is from Russell Morgan, N3C. Doesn't she owe $20 million for her failed attempt for president? And then Frenchie jumped in and said the DNC paid it off. And Frenchie, thank you, that is correct. Just showing you this New York Post article saying that the DNC agreed to pick up the tab for more than $20 million of Kamala Harris campaign debt in a handshake deal. So former Vice President Kamala Harris and the DNC made a handshake deal after her massive defeat in the 2024 presidential election, which saw the party cover all of her outstanding campaign bills, according to a report. Okay, now how many people do you know, if they owed someone $20 million, are going to just take care of that over a handshake? Does that not just scream corruption? I mean, no, we're just going to be fine. We'll take care of it. Under the terms of the private agreement, the cash-strapped DNC paid off about $20.5 million in debts owed by the Harris campaign in exchange for the failed Democrat presidential nominee's pledge to raise money for the Democratic Party to make the entity whole financially. Sorry, that's making me laugh. Like, I think they got a bad deal, because I don't know that Kamala's going to be able to really, help make them whole. If she's going to burn down the Democratic Party with Biden in there and everything that happened, and it's scorched earth with this book, I can't imagine a lot of hardcore Dems are going to want to be seeing her, right? But anyway, I think it's all fantastic. I hope she just goes crazy in this book. And I'm not buying the book again. You couldn't pay me to read it. But I will read the snippets just to report it to you so that you don't have to buy the book either. Okay, now onto the segment that we did about Brian Stelter on CNN when he was talking about the fatal stabbing in Charlotte. And he was concerned about the mean comments on X about the killer. Actually, so many people picked up on when he said, he called some of the comments baldly racist. And I was trying to come up with a punchline on that earlier and I couldn't, but I think I'm just going to replay just that short snippet so you can, if you didn't see it, you can at least see him say baldly racist. So here that is.
I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist.
So here are a few comments based on that his term that he used there. This is from Badonia. Baldly racist. Brian, have you looked in the mirror lately? And then another one from Mark Narvison, 4853. Stelter said baldly. Do you think anybody in the control room started snickering when he said it? I mean, if it was on the teleprompter, that's genius, whoever put that in there. The only thing that would have been better is if they would have put balding. If he would have said, those comments are balding racist. They are receding hairline racist. But I'm sure it was him probably just talking, but I don't know why he wouldn't have picked another term. And then this is from Pete Comps 7260. The irony is Brian Stelter using the word baldly as a pejorative. I hope some people were at least smiling at CNN when he said that, right? Okay. And then this is from Kevin Neeb. Seriously, Brian Stelter gives an opinion on the obvious. I'd much rather get my news from the cashier at a McDonald's. Aside from being John Wayne Gacy's evil twin, Brian has zero credibility in the actual news. Kevin, I hope you get invited to roast Brian Stelter, because I enjoyed these. These were good. Okay, and then this is from Jim McDevitt 6084. Didn't CNN fire Stelter once? The definition of insanity, repeating the same mistake over and over, expecting a different outcome. And you're right, they did fire Stelter, which it's insane that they would hire this guy back. This is from the USA Today. Brian Stelter rejoining CNN 2 years after he was fired by the cable network. And he was hired back in a different position, but they did hire him back, which is crazy. Thanks for watching Headlines. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.